studying techniques like the Pomodoro method, where you set a timer for 25 minutes, you work for 25 minutes, and then you set a timer for 5 minutes, and you go relax for those 5 minutes. It doesn't really matter what you do in those 5 minutes. It can be really anything from just reading a book, playing video games, going to have a little snack, whatever it is, but you're allowed to relax for those 5 minutes, and then you set another timer for 25 minutes, and typically you do it in 4 rounds, so you'll do pretty much 2 hours roughly, and then you'll have a longer break. And while this study technique is great, this can be something that might ruin your productivity, and that's what I wanted to talk about in today's video, so let's jump straight into it. You need to know when and when not to use the Pomodoro method. I think everything has its time and place to be more productive in your day-to-day life. However though, I don't think the Pomodoro method is gonna be very beneficial for you when you are working on your passions. So let's say you are really going hard in the studying or working on whatever it is, and you're really enjoying it, and you're really just in that deep focus of mind, and then the timer goes off and you're forced to take a break. That's just gonna get you out of that deep work, which is really not beneficial for you, and you feel like you have to take this 5-minute break, and you feel those 5 minutes you can't take a proper break, because to be honest, you can't really read much in 5 minutes unless you're speed reading it, which I don't recommend, because when we're in this flow state of mindset, working for 30, 40, 50 minutes and then having to take a break is really just gonna disrupt that flow state mind, and getting into the flow state can be really difficult for some people, so taking yourself out of it constantly is just not the most beneficial for yourself. Do I think the Pomodoro has a time and place? Absolutely. I still use the Pomodoro method. I'm a huge fan of watching study with me videos. I love those timers where it's like more an hour and then 10-minute break. It feels a lot better. I'm not gonna lie, I don't use it as often as some other people. Like, I don't find that many benefits from studying techniques where you set a timer. I think the Pomodoro method is extremely beneficial when you are tired, you're not feeling good, and setting that timer and having that goal that you have to do this thing for a certain amount of time and then you can take a break is really beneficial, and I've definitely used it in certain situations, especially when it comes to things I really don't want to work on. Like, I could really have used that when I went to high school and I had homework to do. I think I could really benefit from doing those 30 minutes of studying and then taking a 10-minute break, because I would still be getting work done, but it would be a lot less hectic for me. And I also don't think studying techniques does have to be actually sitting down at your desk and studying or working or whatever it is. You can also add this to chores. This is something I find extremely beneficial for someone like me that has a really hard time with clutter and mess, and if everything's just all over the place, I find it really beneficial. For example, if my room is messy, that I set a timer for 10 minutes and I just clean for those 10 minutes. And usually I'm done cleaning in those 10 minutes. It obviously depends on the situation. Like, if I can tell my room is a mess or the kitchen is a mess or whatever it is and it's gonna take me longer, I set a longer timer. But I think it's really wonderful when you set a timer to do a certain chore and you finish it before the timer goes off. I think that's really nice, and it sets like this expectation for yourself that this is only gonna take 10 minutes instead of feeling like, oh, I have so many dishes to do, oh, my room is a mess. Ugh, I hate it. And you also shouldn't feel restricted to the amount of time that's like the original Pomodoro method, because people do it differently. Like, if you just want to set a time for 10 minutes and a 10-minute break, go ahead. Like, it's fine, whatever works for you, and you have to change it from whatever setting it is and what feels the best for you, because I think working for 45 minutes and having a 5-minute break is just gonna really stress me out, because it literally takes me a couple minutes just to get out of my desk area. So having like a longer break for like 10 or 15 minutes instead, so I actually feel like I can chill a little bit before I go back to work, is great. I know I watched this video once about a guy who talked about the anime Pomodoro method when I was really into anime, where he would basically study for, I think, 25 minutes and then he would watch an anime episode and then go back. I think that was really fun and interesting. I don't think I could do that personally, but if it works for you, that's great. Study smarter, not harder. I know this is absolutely nothing to do with Pomodoro method studying techniques, but I still really wanted to talk about this because you don't have to work your ass off 24/7. I think a great example of this, I love mentioning YouTube channels. It is really common that you have long form videos on YouTube and you also have shorter versions of those YouTube videos. You don't have to create, for example, 4 long form videos and then have to make 8 TikToks for each of them. You don't have to do that. You can literally just take clips from your longer videos and make them into shorter versions. I also remember seeing this clip of these talking about like with a YouTube channel, like it's much more beneficial to make one good video that can get 100,000 views instead of making 100 videos that get 1,000 views. I thought that was really interesting. And I also think for homework, you don't have to do all the extra work. You don't have to make things more difficult for yourself. You should just make everything as easy as humanly possible, because at the end of the day, you should not be sacrificing your well-being just because you're working harder. I also think when it comes to just work in general, if you don't prioritize your health, your work is just gonna go downhill, because you need to be healthy in order to work the best. Because as much as you may think you don't need sleep and you can work through the entire night and only get 2 hours of sleep every night, that is so unhealthy. And you should also prioritize having healthy foods and prioritizing your sleep and prioritizing exercise, because at the end of the day, it's gonna help you be more productive. Like, there's so many benefits of those 3 things. There's a reason why the most successful people take so good care of their health. So really, just study smarter, not harder. Studying with others. If you really insist on using the Pomodoro method, I want to talk about study videos or study streams. And the reason why I recommend this is just because you don't feel alone doing homework or your work. And the reason why I mention this because you don't feel alone doing work. You can apply this in 2 ways. I think you can apply this where you watch a stream so you can actually interact with people also doing it in real life time, or you can just watch a YouTube video. Either one works great. I think it really just depends on what you do, what will work best for you. Because watching a stream is just gonna be beneficial for you. You can also see other people studying while you're doing it, and you can even chat with people. I think that's great, because when you just set the timer for yourself, I feel like it's just easier to get more distracted. Of course, if that works better for you, go right ahead. I also really wanted to talk about the rest time when it comes to the Pomodoro method, because to be honest, I am not the biggest fan of the timer, especially because, as I said, 5-10 minutes can kind of stress me out and that can make me really anxious. So I think setting a different goal is a lot more beneficial, because let's say you want to read in your rest time. It's really annoying to have to finish in the middle of a chapter. That's really annoying. I'm really sorry for this cat. It is really annoying when you finish in the middle of a chapter and you have to wait like so long to go back to that chapter. I would just suggest saying, I have to read this chapter and then I can go back to work. You can even do this if you like to play video games. You can say, okay, I have to finish this mission and then I can go back to work. Obviously, don't make it like an hour-long work session. Obviously, don't make that task like an hour long. Make it realistic. I mean, maybe there it's better to set the timer for 5-10 minutes. It really just depends, but I think setting a specific goal you want to reach before, when you've done reading that chapter, you can go back to work, and then you work, and then you read another chapter. It's also productive. Still. If you want a good little video of me reading for 45 minutes, I have this little video I made. It's a really good video. You can go watch it if you want, but that's beside the point. And this also leads me on to my next point. Calling friends or meeting with friends in person when you are studying, because you have each other to lift up each other. Because I think when you are studying with other people, it's just gonna help you be productive, really. Use study techniques that works for you. If you don't like listening to music, but every single productivity YouTuber tells you that you're gonna be a million times more productive if you listen to music, fuck that. That is no. Because if you don't like listening to music while you are working or studying, don't do it. I have found for myself that it's really popular to listen to lo-fi music, but I don't love it. I think it's nice, and sometimes I do work and listen to lo-fi at the same time, but 9 out of 10 times I am not the biggest fan of it. I think I reserve it more for my mornings and my evenings, but what I do love is any sort of white noise. But I didn't like white noise when I first discovered it, but then I discovered brown noise and pink noise. It's like a sound that should just be in my head 24/7, because as soon as I take my headphones off, I'm like, this feels so wrong. I love that stuff. I also use it in the morning and the evenings to relax. And also something I think is super interesting but might work for you. You can also just listen to any songs really that's like beat up, but try and make sure it's not songs you know, so you don't start singing to them. You can if you want to. Sometimes I have done that, but I have noticed taking a soundtrack from a movie that's like hyped up. I love that shit. Lately, I've just been listening to Pirates of the Caribbean and Harry Potter soundtrack. It works especially around that 3 p.m, 4 p.m slump I sometimes get, and I can just put that soundtrack on and I can be productive. Like, wow. So that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, maybe you want to check out this other video I made about how I think physical books are kind of overrated and why I exclusively read on my Kindle. Maybe that's going to be an interesting video for you to check out. Please remember to be kind to yourself and others, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!